Hey, what's going on? This is an introduction to the build that I've been working on. My 85 Z-28 Camaro, 5-speed, originally a 305 throttle bodied, and it's in the process of an LS swap. We're at the point where I've got suspension in it from UMI, and I've got the engine ready to go, getting the transmission set up so that that can be installed onto the engine before we do anything else. But it's at a point now where I thought I'd put out some videos on this because I've been hesitating to do it just because I don't want to bore people with the stuff that I've done. I'll show you real quick the UMI suspension pieces that have been put in. And that's basic. Why I haven't done videos on that is basically because it's consisted of just unbolting and bolting stuff back up into it. So it's pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the suspension stuff. But let me give you a quick shot of what's going on there. So starting from the front, the usual for a third gen, the adjustable camber plates. Got some KYBs for the front struts. Went with the full suspension, front suspension rebuild, along with the UMI K-member, the LSX conversion swap mounts, and did a little paint work on the spindles just to get them cleaned up so it didn't look like garbage. And then went with UMI's weight jack kit along with their lower A-arms. And I've got a sway bar coming from them as well. The original one that I bought probably a year, 2 years ago, got it to mount up into the poly bushings there, and the bends were off. So called UMI, and sure enough, they said that they had some issues with the company that bent their sway bars about a year or two ago, and they were going to replace it free of charge under warranty. So that's on its way. But the other things I added were I never had a the front brace here. I forget what they're called off the top of my head. But did that with one of the relocation brackets for that front bar. And then going under, went with the everything's UMI, but T5 or 700 R4 transmission mount, and the torque arm that mounts to the actual bracket, not the transmission. And that just goes back to the stock rear end for now, but that's got the I've got lowers, adjustable panhard bar, adjustable shocks, and poly bushings for the stock rear sway bar. But eventually we're gonna probably be putting a 9-inch like rear end in there, so something that'll handle the LS power. But the only modification really I had to do with the transmission mount is comes with a 6 total bolts for the mount, and you can see this one here. This one here from the factory was not tapped on both sides, so drilled in, or just tapped this one. It was already drilled out with a mount in there, so just tapped that one and added a third bolt. So that's why they're different from each other there. But I went with the T5 mount 700 R4 because there's the motor. Started life as a 4.8 and is now a 5.3. And when I purchased it off of Facebook, I had no idea that it was a 4.8. And until my builder told me that Sure enough, the crank is marked 4.8, so we had to find a new 5.3 crank, and she is ready to rip. I'll give you more details on the engine at a later date, but just the usual goodies on there. Reusing, now this is the interesting part to me, is reusing the T5, which everybody I've talked to has said do not do because it will not handle the power. Well, I would love to put another 5-speed transmission in there, but TKX or TKO, which the TKO you can't even find anymore, at a minimum, you're looking at $4,000 for doing a new transmission. And that's just not money I have right now. So we're sticking with the T5. And the interesting part is I went through several different companies and reached out to several different people about how you get a stock 82 through 92 Camaro T5 transmission with the offset that is built into this transmission. It's a 22 to 23 degree offset. Nobody had any ideas for me other than use the bell housings that you can find from, I think, like Speed, and I don't know if it's Speedway Automotive. I forget what companies, but they're bell housings that are marketed as 5-speed bell housings for LS transmission swaps. The problem is you cannot use them because then your offset, this is exactly how it would sit once mounted to the engine, and you've got an angle, I don't know if you can see that. The angle of that offset is such that you could not get it to sit flush on the transmission mount. So I did some digging. I was looking on the web and came across QuickTime Performance. They had these on clearance. It's, let's see if you can see that number there. It's the 6018, their product number is 6018. The C19S, I guess, doesn't matter. It's just the 6018. Originally, like $1,000, bell housing. Picked it up for $387, I think it was, on sale. So I just wanted to point out a few more things with this bell housing. Get this out of the way. All right, so a couple things. 6018 bell housing from QuickTime. I got this directly from Holly. And as I said, it's marketed or listed as a bell housing that will fit small block and big block Chevys. I believe 4 speeds, so Muncies or Saginaw's. I don't know if which one have the offset as well. But when I saw this, I thought it's marketed, even on their site says it will fit 153 and 168 tooth flywheels, which my LS flywheel for the transmission is gonna be 168. So, or what did I say? 158 and 163. I don't remember. So, but it will fit. And sure enough, I got the clutch installed, got everything tightened up, centered. As you can see, I still got the installation tool in there, and did a free spin of the engine, pulled the plugs out so that I could rotate it. Does not bind, nothing. It works perfect. And the other thing I point out here is that you're gonna see, I got different hardware here. This is the hardware that was supplied with the bell housing. It's this hex key fitting. For whatever reason, I got these 4, and for whatever reason, there's not enough clearance in here or in here for this size bolt to use. And I did not want to use these up here. I wanted some actual like bolts. But the cool thing is too, is even though it's not marketed as a LS conversion bell housing, and even the tech I spoke with at Holley said, it might be a bolt hole off, or you may not be able to bolt one bolt in there. Every bolt was available and fit, no problem. So the only other thing I may have to do, because I am going with a hydraulic throwout bearing, is, and I've got headers coming from Speed Engineering. Once those get here, do a dry fit and see if this bracket, which is for the original slave cylinder, I wonder if this is not going to get in the way. But if it is, that'll be a quick cut and then throw a little paint over what we cut, but should be pretty easy. So just wanted to explain that as well. So I know from everybody that I've talked to, they tell you don't use a T5, and I understand that. I totally get it. I know there's probably going to be some comments where it's, T5 is going to blow up the minute you shift it into gear. No, it's not. It's not a world-class trans T5. So the world-class are rated right around like 300. I think these are 280 on torque. Horsepower, couldn't even tell you. It's nominal. The motor is probably, I think we're anticipating right around mid 400s, or 4.25 to 450, which is a safe estimate based on the stage 3 cam and everything else that's gone into it. So yes, it will not, if you rip gears through it, yes, it will absolutely explode. That is not what's going to happen with mine, because I will not be ripping gears. I simply am trying to get this thing running, driving, moving, so that it can be enjoyed for now. And if that means that I got to just roll through the gears casually, that's what I'm going to do. But there's the other part about that bell housing is it is not completely bolt up to that LS motor, because the back seal plate has bolts that stick out, I'd say probably maybe 2 to 3 centimeters, that don't allow the flex plate that's used. I'm sorry, not the flex plate, the scatter shield plate that mounts behind the flywheel. It would not sit flush. So I had to do some clearancing on that. And I've already got the flywheel mounted up, so I could probably, if I take off the bell housing, could show you, but it basically involved putting some grease on the bolts, that on every bolt for that back plate, including the oil pan, placing the plate up there over the dowel rods that are in the engine, and then once you put the plate up, the grease leaves marks of where those bolts were at, and basically just center punched in the middle of each one and then drilled them out. I think, trying to remember what size hole I did. It doesn't matter. It was a hole that I left enough clearance around each bolt so that there's room for the plate to move, which it won't, but there's room in case, if need be. So like I said, this is, I don't know who's interested in watching any of this stuff, but I'm interested in putting it out. I've been having a ball putting this together. I'm working on it with my 2 boys, and who are 14 and 12, and it's just been a hoot to share with them the joy that I get from building stuff on cars and just working on cars. And so this is the first one. I'm hoping to have more videos out in the future. I'll do, try to do one, maybe two a week if time allows. And just take you through the journey of getting this thing up and running. So thanks for watching. If you care to follow along, subscribe, like the video, comment, and turn on the notifications, and I'll start trying to put out more stuff depending on what the interest is in this. So thanks again. Take care.